Alison.
Hello. I didn't even know I was going to match today.
Right, you are totally like. You have the horse behind you. Like even your wall has the same color.
I'm just really in this. I'm really in this live.
Yeah. And thank you so much for hopping on for this conversation about entities and animals. Because like maybe you can say something about yourself, like Alison, like what you are like doing with Access and with Talk to the Entities. Seriously.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I was so pumped when you asked me to talk about this because it's one of my favorite things. So some people know, and many people do not know, that like entities and animals have a lot to, or you can facilitate a lot with both of those things together. And some things can be sometimes hindering, and sometimes those two things together can be a contribution. So it just depends on what's going on. But I'm Alison Cox, Talk to the Entities Facilitator, also just like Yasso, and Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider Facilitator too, where we also work with and sometimes work with entities and horses. So yeah, entities, animals, and horses. Oh my.
Yeah. Well, it's like there's like I would say there is also like a lot of myths about, for example, cats and entities or horses and entities. So like maybe we could talk a little bit about like behavior and how entities kind of like influence like behaviors of animals. Like,
yeah, I would say any myth that you're going to look at, there's probably a truth connected to some of it. You just want to ask, okay, what part of this myth is a lie and what part of it is actually true? Because many cats do have a lot of capacities with entities. Yeah. Cats especially. Some animals do have capacities with entities and some not so much. But entities can definitely be affecting sometimes your animal's behavior. So if your animal is behaving strangely or bonkers or just even sick, a lot of times, especially with cats, your cat's like, okay, let's talk about cats. All right, cat, we will talk about cats. It's so funny. If your cat ever gets sick, you might want to ask, okay, is this entities or something else? Because a lot of cats are really good at facilitating entities or sucking them up for you or protecting you or whatever they think their job is. And at some point, it's kind of like when you've done a lot of pock and potting and you're like, and you can't like go on any further and you just need your bars run.
wow.
And then you get your bars run and you're like, ah. Same with cats or animals that have just processed so much or have been like, facilitating things or healing things or all kinds of stuff. If they don't get, it helps a lot if you clear entities from them. So if they ever have a cold or something, or my dog, she was like, I fed her like raw food, the best food. I made it like homemade, and she was always fat. And I was like, what the heck? And I finally found the entity clearing and then Talk to the Entities, but also Talk to the Animals book. And that was the first time I had ever come across entities and animals. I was like, huh? Entities and animals? I'm like, I don't know. I'll just try it on my dog. So I went and I didn't know what you did. So I put my hands on my dog and I was like, okay, entities, who are you? Who were you before that? Who were you before that? And who will you be in the future? And I went through the different, what are your jobs and all of that? And I was like, okay, like nothing, like there were no noises or like nothing was screaming at me. My dog didn't like have a seizure. She just kept sleeping and like, okay. But within 2 weeks of doing that, she lost like 700 billion pounds. She like lost all this weight. Within 2 weeks, she became like a puppy. She looked like, everyone's like, is your dog a puppy? I'm like, no, she's 10 years old or 9 or however old she was. And I was like, what in the world? And she started barking. She started acting like a dog after I had done that. And long story shortish, she had been hit by a car when she was 1. And I had like prayed. I was going to pray to Jesus. I'm like, should I pray now? I'm like, he seems kind of busy. So I'm like, maybe I'll ask someone else. So I was like, who do I know that's dead? I'm like, if
He's
you
just
pray,
busy
you
at
have
the
to pray to
moment. Please leave your message after the beep. We'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Jesus is busy. So in my head, praying meant talking to dead people and they do the stuff for you. So, and I didn't know entity stuff. So I was like, oh, my stepdad, oh, are we still live? I'm assuming we're still live. Okay, good. I'm like, my stepdad is dead. I bet you I can talk to him. So I remember like praying to my stepdad and being like, if you can go fix my dog, I don't care how she comes back. Like I was reading all these things. Dogs that get hit by cars come back crazy. I'm like, it's fine. However she comes back, just go save her. And so I just remember thinking about him and seeing kind of a tube or a channel going over to where I thought she was. I didn't know at the time I was actually asking him to facilitate her. Until 9 years later when I found Access Consciousness and talked to the entities. And so I realized, like, after reading more stuff, I'm like, oh my gosh, my stepdad has been in my dog the whole time or around her.
Oh, wow. Wow,
and he
wow,
was always like a bigger guy. And it was just, yeah, it was super cool. So she was like a dog. And so animals can also have people
and a
entities
fat guy.
in them. So when I cleared the fat guy out, then she became a dog and skinny.
So, but question, because you just said dog, like one of the myths like that you had heard was that dogs that get hit by a car are like often come back like crazy.
Right.
So is that something you've seen as a facilitator of Talk to the Entities that you can change? Like what have you become aware of by working with Talk to the Entities? Like,
yep, I would say, so it doesn't even have to be a car accident. It could be like if they go in for surgery or go to get their teeth cleaned or anything where they kind of become unconscious or there's a chance for other entities to come in or even beings to switch or all kinds of strange things. So if animals or people, if you go unconscious or you have surgery, you're kind of like, oh, well, other things could come in if they want to also. So same with animals, you might wake up with a different dog. So using the Talk to the Entity tools to clear out the extra people, the new posse, the extra things, animals, whatever, helps a lot after surgeries, after accidents. So you just ask, okay, is this like, if your dog comes back different? I wouldn't have known this before. I just read it like, oh my God, my dog's going to come back like a psycho killer or something, or like mean. And so
my stepdad, I'm not sure if that's better.
Just kind of lazy. No. He was awesome. Hello. He's like, yay, I love getting to help with these stories. So yeah, my train of thought just went pew
everywhere. Well, we were like talk to the Entities tools and when your dog comes back like differently or
yeah, you want, one of the things you can use, so it's not always entities, of course, but one of the number one things you want to check first is, okay, are there entities here or is this something else? One of the first things you want to check for sure if there's any behavioral difference is entities. Yeah. And you just do that by asking, is this entities or something else? Yeah.
So you work a lot with horses.
And you have a horse.
I have a horse. I'm also a Conscious Horse for Unconscious Writer Facilitator, actually.
Yeah, I didn't. That's awesome.
But like, one of the things I've seen is that, like, sometimes like I had a very spooky horse, but that was like when she was in one part of the world, and then now she's in another part of the world, and she doesn't do any of that behavior anymore. And so I was wondering, like, have you seen like how also like environmental like moves can like change an animal and how like in regards to entities?
Totally. Good question. It's funny, right before this call, I just talked to a guy, he is probably on this live, from South Africa, and he's working with a bunch of horses too. So, I mean, he can just go in and see, but in general, horses in different lands or different parts of the land or different places totally can you can facilitate a lot of ease and a lot of change through entity communication. So if a lot of people have died on that part of the land, or the horse died or was at war or something in a different part of the world, or if there's different nature spirits that aren't being acknowledged, or if there's like demon portals in the land, like we've had that before in classes, and like there's so many things, like a billion different things you can clear with the land or the horse. Horses will also get triggered with different people. So like if the particular people in that place where you had him first, if he had any like past lifetime stuff with them, it could be, they could act different in that way. Also, if they have different projections or expectations of the horse at that place, the horse will react to those different projections and expectations differently there. Or just if the land is different than the other place. So like, if they didn't have a whole lot of history together or whatever, if it's just more of an interesting point of view thing over there and calm and maybe.
So like, for people that are watching this and have no clue, like how do you actually like realize if your horse, if it's like due to past lives that your horse is actually behaving like weirdly or like to people, or do you have some tricks and tools with that?
You always want to start. So it could be anything. You can start again just with, okay, is this entities or something else? And whatever is light for you is true. Whatever is heavy is a lie. So if you get like, oh, entities, then it's probably entities. If you get something else, then it's probably something else. So that's like the number one easiest. And then you can also, if you just aren't, so again, if there's a lot of entities involved in something, especially with like drugs, like if your animal was put down in a previous life, or if your animal was put down, period, through drugs, sometimes they can be unconscious for a while. That's kind of, now I'm veering off into a different thing, but let's put that in a bubble and talk about that too.
Yes, I love it, because I was going there. I was like, oh wow, there's also like a lot of people that actually lost an animal, that the animal still like wanders around in their house, or like, you know, the willingness to like, maybe we just wandered off.
Yeah, I know. It's like,
I get a sense there's like this whole lot of like animal entities that want us to talk about a whole lot of things.
Totally. I know. But like, to start again, so what is this? What do I do with it? Can I change it? And if so, how do I change it? Is where you always want to start. And just, if you just ask that, okay, what is this? And what do I do with it? And you just allow information to show up, or like a sign, or maybe your horse will like paw at the ground, or who knows, or your animal might just like be like, come around you more. If you ask, okay, what is this? And how do I change it? Your animal might come up, and maybe you'll get like a thought in your head of like a flash of a picture, or just a thought or a feeling or a sense to do something. The more you start just to practice and acknowledge that you're actually getting information, you might not be perfect at first, but just playing with it, like even the weirdest stuff that shows up in your head, like aliens, be like, okay, I'm getting aliens, go with it. Like, go with it and play with it and start asking questions. And it literally might be the thing for your animal that will change everything.
So have you always been that brilliant with animals?
Not this cognitively. I've definitely always had, well, I didn't know that I was. Like, you know, when you're a kid and you're just around animals and you love animals, and I'd always find like the injured everything, like the injured lizard and the injured bird and the injured dog, and I would like go be around every single injured thing and like heal it or kill it. So definitely always been in love with animals, but didn't know that you could do all of this, all of the things like with entities and animals that really, really, really facilitate change even faster. I had no clue about that part. But everybody, basically, if you're watching this live, or you're into animals, or you're into entities, like, you wouldn't be able to look at this live or talk to the entities or even like animals if you didn't have a capacity with that stuff. So even acknowledging that is a huge, huge part to starting your adventure with your capacity of animals and entities and all the weird stuff that can show up. I don't even know. I'm just like this much into it. There's so much more that we haven't even discovered yet.
Yeah. Oh, we're back. So interesting. Like the connection I like last week I did like a walking class and like a dog came and the dog literally asked for facilitation. And it was so interesting to see because that doggy, like it was really sweet, but he had this like constant like sadness in his face. And
Yeah.
so he came like for facilitation at a certain point. And I asked, like, so what was his role before the owner that came with the dog to the class had him? And he had been like this dog that had total task to like be just like the doggy for a sick person.
Oh.
And then at a certain point, they just gave him away. And that was when this woman found him. But like the dog was kind of still like confused, like in that, like why it had been like given away. And it was so beautiful to actually ask questions and to see like that dog in that class just like change like
Oh,
completely.
that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
so cool. Smart dog to come to your class.
Yes, that's the thing. Like animals. Yeah. So do you have like a lot of animals bringing people to your classes, dead or alive?
Oh, totally. Especially as you know too with the conscious horse, conscious rider. Those dogs love to come to classes. Basically like yeah, all any class that or any animal that can go into a hotel, you know, they can come in there. The horses, you know, they always like to do that. But some I've definitely seen like maybe the weirdest one. I don't think they came to a class. It was like a private facilitation, but it was a snake. And I had no idea, but it was all kind of over email. I was like, well, we can try. But the snake, maybe they're watching too. Hi, you guys. And they could tell the story better. But the snake kind of had a broken neck, and we did processes like verbal processing, but they also did body processes on the snake. And it ended up like changing the body of the snake so that they could eat and live and thrive with this family, which was really cool.
Well, so
And
but the snake had like a broken neck from an accident or just like
something
came out like
I forget exactly, or maybe it was like they found it frozen. I'm not sure. I forget the whole story, but it definitely like
looked like that. Oh my goodness. And so basically through verbal processing, like you changed the energy in the body or it changed the energy in the body and
totally like the verbal processing. So you can use verbal processing with animals so much easier than with people because animals don't really hold on to their stuff. We like to think
okay.
but like you can ask a snake. So, okay. Or any animal, if whatever's going on, okay, everything that is and everything that allows it to exist, will you destroy and uncreate it? Right, wrong, good, bad, POD, POC, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds, and povats. Yeah. And then, so we just did verbal processing, and then I had they knew of the body, like access consciousness body process. So they're hands-on processes, or you can do them from a distance too with animals. If the animal doesn't want you to touch them, you can do like a few feet off. But that just ended up changing all kinds of things. And I forget if we did any entities stuff too. I don't remember. But yeah, questions change everything with animals, people, entities.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah, so cool.
So people watching, if you have any question for Alison, like now is the time also.
Yay.
Oh, so what else? Like, I'm wondering how else we can lead this conversation. So have you seen like, you know, like with normal, like with people entities, like a lot of people have the point of view that they should leave. And I think then with like animal entities, there is more of this thing of like, oh, I don't want to lose my animal. So have you seen like, is that like of a big influence often how people are not willing to let an animal go, what the animal can choose?
Yes. But also I've seen a lot of like multi-dimensional things happen afterwards. So like where the animal or even my stepdad, like his energy was in my dog for a long time, you know, but was also like with my mom at the same time. So that was the first time I started seeing like, wait a minute, this person or entity is in two places at once. And so a lot of times with the dog entities, like, yes, you can keep your entity. You just want to ask, like, okay, am I limiting my animal after death at all?
Mm.
Is there energy still around me? Yay, yes, okay. And then what else is possible? So when my dog was dying, I was like, okay, I get you are dying now. I was like, but maybe I can heal you because I'm a facilitator and I'm the one that can heal you and you should live till you're like 22. But what we were both choosing wasn't going to work for either of us. So anyway, I was like, doing MTVSS on her back, and I like passed out, and I went into like a vision or a dream of like being either a dog or right by her head, some dog, right by her head, like sniffing the ground in some woods in an open field, but also in the woods. And then I woke up and I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I passed out again into the same place. And then it happened a third time. And I was like, what the heck is this? I'm like, oh, she already has her new body, like her entity being was still half keeping her body alive here, but she'd sleep like 23.5 hours a day. She was basically just staying alive because I really needed her to stay alive. So I was keeping her alive, and she's like, okay,
I'll do this.
Yeah, but she had already found her new body, like in this really cool place. I'm like, oh, you were showing me your new adventure. I'm like, that looks like a good choice. Awesome. And then, so that was really cool. So,
yeah. So she like, did she then like leave like after you had that awareness, or?
Yep, but she was still like, I could perceive her energy. So after she died, it was almost easier to have a sense of her than it was when she was in her body when I was traveling versus when I was home and all of these things. It was all of a sudden just this big, oh, you're just a huge energy that can contribute. Sorry, I didn't notice that when you were embodied, but I will do better next time. And so it was just easier to kind of tap into her. And sometimes, like even now, sometimes she'll hop in other dogs or whatever and like be howling or whatever. I'm like, oh, hello. But one day, a few months later, I think she ended up dying in that body too. Because all of a sudden I like woke up and I like dropped to the floor. I'm like, I couldn't move. I was like crawling into the living room, and the living room had no windows. I'm like, what's happening? And all this wind was coming, but there's no windows in that room. I'm like, huh? I'm like, who is this? I'm like, oh, I knew it was an entity. I'm like, all right, who are you for real? I'm like, oh, it's Maggie, my dog. Hello. I was like, oh, you want to come back? Oh, she's like, yeah, I want to come back. I'm like, sorry. Like, I have all this traveling. Like, no, not right now. Like, you can hang around if you want.
Now.
Yeah.
Wow, you told her no. Like,
I told her no. So you have a choice too. Like, you have a choice. Our lives, she wanted me to be around a lot more. I needed to start traveling. I promised her I'd give her the best babysitters ever. And then that didn't work for either of us. So she chose her way and I chose mine. And she tried to choose back in. And I said, not yet, but perhaps in the future too. So your animals can come back to you, but you want to include yourself also if that's going to work for you. If it's going to work for them, you can actually make it a pretty pragmatic, cool thing.
Well, that's the whole thing, right? If you would have gone into emotions, that would have made it like, oh, she wants to come back. Maybe we can.
I have to.
No, it's not going to work right now.
Yeah, not right now.
Wow.
Right? Isn't that so fun?
Wow, I really truly love how these tools can be applied, because like this is not something that like is necessarily talked about in a Talk to the Entity class unless there is like questions asked about it, but then still these tools can apply and open up a totally different universe with animal communication.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's almost the same tool. So like taking all of the Talk to the Entities classes and becoming like facilitating Talk to the Entities classes for so many years it's the same tool you use to talk to animals for me. I'm like, okay. Or you know how you know what a dog is saying, but you can see it. It's basically, if you know an entity is there, you kind of use the same, like, okay, what am I sensing here? Or what am I sensing with the animal? It's the same, what's that called when you speak through your mind, through your...
Like psychic space?
Telepathy.
Telepathy.
It's the same thing.
It's
so
like
animals mostly talk telepathically. I'm like, how do I say the syllables of this word?
Yeah. I just love this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So if you're watching this and you want to know more about Alison, you can find her link to her website in the text here. If you want to know more about Talk to the Entities, have a look on the website. There's like a lot of facilitators that are doing awesome stuff also for free on YouTube. Talk to the Animals, we named Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider. You can find all of these informations also on the Access Consciousness website.
Hooray!
Yay! Thank
So
you so
much.
much.
That was so fun. I love you. I
I
adore you.
love you too and hope to see you soon.
I will. Thank
Paris.
you. Paris.
Paris.
Bye.